cannot live on SpaghettiOs alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God. And if a man give up his coat, he will be chilled to the bone. That's the word that come from the mouth of God. That's the word that come from the mouth of God. Good morning, bears. Non-bears, Care Bears, Super Bears, Never Bears, all the bears. It's winter time. Had our first snow of the year last night, so it's all white outside, cold inside. Coming up on Christmas. Christmas in the time of COVID. It's very surreal. I listen to a little Christmas music every now and then on the radio, and interspersed with the Christmas music, inevitably you're going to hear from CBS News or Fox News or NPR News about the COVID and where we're at in the saga of the dealing with the great enemy of our day. This virus that no one can see and no one can seem to really get, but the numbers just keep going up. It's literally like listening to one of those zombie movies, because they're like, okay, well, the vaccine is set to roll out. They've got this many in Italy, this many in China, this many in America, and we should have this percentage of the world's population vaccinated by this date. And you're just like, wow, they've manufactured something, even if it's just a placebo. It could be anything from a complete placebo, just a prop in the whole international narrative, or they could be a completely super complex innovation of micro computer technology putting into the population, and anything in between. Could be just a regular flu shot. Point is, it's international, and this is unprecedented. This international malady and diagnosis. And the more you listen to it, from any perspective, it seems like cheap television, and it's real easy to tune out these days, because you're like, they've turned reality into a cheap television show, and I'd rather just be me and the weather and God, which is good, but it's not always what you get. It's been a while since I've done a video, mostly from laziness and frustration with the internet, but also it's just like, sometimes everyone's journey, my relationship with God and my relationship with the rest of his people, my journey towards Bertaria, as I call this narrative, and as a lot of people do, as you know. Sometimes the story seems very... It's like Owen was talking about a few days ago on one of his episodes, about the three dimensions that we know, and the fourth dimension being time and motion and activity and really just experience and memory. That's all wrapped up in the fourth dimension. Then the fifth dimension is the projector of reality, which is God. But the fourth dimension, I don't feel like I'm in it that much these days, because my days are all the same. Well, it just seems like my journey is the same day. I'm definitely in a kind of purgatory. um, because sin is what keeps us from God, becoming saved, turning, repenting, switching from upside down to right side up. Um, you become free of the ultimate consequence of sin when you become saved, but you don't become free of the effect sin has had upon you your whole life. And of course, this manifests itself in so many ways. You know, the carnal, sensual, lustful sins. Of course, they're going to have after effects long after you quit them. Um, but also my main sin of just thinking that I could create a society unto myself, um, and stay one step ahead of the chaos. Um, when you're born smart and strong and adaptable, um, you just at some point you see the world is so dumb that you believe you can stay ahead of it and you can be productive and fulfilled just by outworking the chaos. But the chaos doesn't come intermittently. Well, it does through your adolescence. In your childhood, depending on how good a childhood you had, you're pretty much free from the chaos. And then slowly it creeps in, it attacks at different times, and you got to deal with it. Um, but in family and community, you always have this refuge from it that you can withdraw into. Um, and so I thought I had that community, that solidness, that base, that foundation in myself that I could always withdraw to protect myself from the chaos. But as I said, the chaos, it comes intermittently through your adolescence, and then at some point, at this point I was in the military, it becomes a war of attrition. You do become surrounded by it, and you realize there's no rest from it. Life is um, maintaining my resources and outlasting the chaos now. And so that turns into like a hypervigilance and a hyperactivity, um, and just a general manicness, for better or worse, to help to mitigate the circumstance. Um, and that's one thing I identify a lot with Owen, because he seems to always be going and always have this running list that he's checking off. And I think that comes from his childhood and his relationship with his dad, and there not being this full trust, and never being it once he realized his dad would use situations and emotions to his advantage against the rest of the family. You have to always be on your guard. Um, so it seems like Owen went through that, and then he went to Hollywood and became very successful, believing that he was going to stay one step ahead. He was going to get so secure that he would be able to rest someday and let his guard down. But then as he moved there, he realized it was just a more complex, more advanced version of, you know, what he was leaving with his father. And it seems like he went through his own dark night of the soul. And seems to have survived it and emerged from it victorious. And that's why that's why his content is valuable to some people. That's what I'm trying to say. This whole video is for you, Forlorn Hope. Like I said, not feeling like my life has a narrative enough to attach to the internet and communicate to other people in the fourth dimension. It's easy not to do videos. But until somebody asks a question directly, which you did, that breaks the fourth wall, so to speak. It's just really easy to step back into the fourth dimension, and explain what my life's been like. A lot of up and downs with Blaze. Um, he's got his good days and bad, like we all do. Um, but it's just getting used. It's really the withdrawals of the distraction of society. I don't know who said it, but it's like you don't experience real temptation until you leave the fake temptation of Babylon. Which, of course, if you stay in that, it's going to kill you. But you don't even really experience the real trial and error, the real temptations of life and of yourself and the battle between good and evil till you leave all the distractions. And so between Babylon and Bertaria is a lot of self-seeking and introspection. Let's see. That's about all I'll go into for now. Hopefully there'll be some momentum and I'll keep doing videos.